For all three of you wondering, next to me is my 1994 Lincoln Town Car. I love the old big cruisers. Now it's May currently, and unfortunately this car has not yet awoken from its winter slumber. I have started it once so far this year, but I haven't had it out on the road yet just because it does need some maintenance done to it, and I've just been so dang busy this spring. But that's all gonna change today. So we are going to do the maintenance on this bad boy, get it ready for the year, and then we're gonna take it out on a real nice, lovely maiden voyage. So with that, thank you so much for tuning into Fun Ahead TV. Let's get right into it. Alrighty, now let's talk power barn for the Lincoln Town Car. This car has Ford's 4.6 liter V8 engine that they started putting in their cars in the early 90s. I think it was like 92 for the first application for the Town Car / Crown Victoria. Honestly, a very stout motor overall. In the Town Car, it is slightly more reliable because of the fact that it has a magnesium intake manifold, which is something that the Crown Victorias, I don't believe, ever got, at least that's my understanding. They had the plastic intake manifold, which was known to leak internally and can then let coolant into the intake ports, and then you'd be burning coolant and you'd have no idea. So that's a symptom that caused the demise of many a 4.6 liter in the Fords. Regardless of the intake manifold situation, these are overall pretty stout engines, considering how hard police run these engines. Well, back in the day when all the police ran Crown Victorias, I mean, you would see them beating the snot out of these things, not to mention all the idle time that these things can handle. Pretty awesome engine overall. So we're just gonna start out by getting this thing fired up. It's been a couple months since this car has run. One thing I like to do after this car has been sitting a while is disconnect the coils, and that allows us to crank the engine over for a little bit without firing the engine to build some oil pressure up in the cylinder heads before this thing actually starts. Because if you don't do that, well, this thing will make some pretty ugly clicky-clacky noises. So we've got those things disconnected. Let's go ahead and start cranking this puppy over for a little bit. All right, start cranking this for a second. Good, now we can go ahead and plug in the coil packs once again. So now let's go ahead and do the same thing, but this time she'll fire right up. Like a charm. This is honestly like one of the smoothest engines ever. Obviously we're hearing quite a bit of radiator fan right now because the viscous clutch is engaged, and so it's, you know, running the fan pretty aggressively right now. But just take a listen to how quiet this motor is. Let's go take a listen to the exhaust note real quick. Honestly, this thing's so quiet, it's really not even worth trying to listen to, but hopefully you could hear the little bit of that grumble. But again, this thing was peak luxury back in the 90s, so it's not meant to be loud. Okay, well, we've had the old girl running for about 5 or 6 minutes now. Let's go ahead and back her out of the garage. We're gonna go on a quick drive just to get the oil up to operating temperature, and then we're gonna drop this oil out and do an oil change for the first time in several years. Well, we are back after a short little drive just to get everything all heated up. Pretty uncomfortable, however, because the AC is not currently working, and that's one of the things we're actually going to be working on today, and it's 90 degrees outside. To add to that, the window regulator on the driver's door likes to work about half the time, so I just usually don't put it down because I'm worried that it won't go back up. So, windows up, 90-degree day with no AC. Not the greatest thing in the world, but nonetheless, this should be the last little drive of the year where we actually have to deal with no AC because we're about to fix it. So let's get the hood popped. We'll start working on a little bit of maintenance and get this thing in tip-top shape. All right, well, I've got the car up in the air. Oil is draining, filter is off, so it's draining from all spots. While it is doing so, let's go ahead and just do a quick underbody inspection of this thing because I don't think I've ever done one on the channel, and if I have, it's been a long time. Overall, this car is very clean. However, it does have 30-year-old car things about it. One of those is the fact that, well, the output shaft seal on the transmission is leaking, and it's been doing that for years. I actually replaced it one time when I was very young, and I did a terrible job at it and kind of marred up that mating surface. So therefore, it has leaked ever since. So I swapped out the old seal that leaked and replaced it with one that leaked. I honestly think I was like, I don't know, 17, 18 at the time. Didn't do a very good job. Also, I've actually never noticed this, but that transmission mount is 1000% shot. How have I never noticed that? Huh. I think it's been a while since I've been underneath this car. So we need a transmission mount and we need a transmission output shaft seal. It's two things and we've been under here like 30 seconds. Great. Up towards the front of the car though, pretty clean overall. I mean, you got some normal rust stuff going on, but nothing terrible, just kind of surfacey rust. This car has lived its entire life between Kentucky and Ohio. And early in its life, it was driven all winter long. So considering that, it's actually not that rusty because road salt. And Kentucky's not that far south. They still use road salt down there. On the note of rust, however, yeah. So I have had the brake lines replaced all the way back, but the fuel lines are original, and honestly, those are like on their 9th life right now. I don't even know how those aren't leaking. Great, so I guess I'll have to do that someday soon. Making our way back, however, not too terrible, except for that we see ATF coating the whole bottom of the car. But hey, further rust protection, I guess, you know? What's really cool about the town cars, and I think the Crown Vics were the same way, is that they are a true dual exhaust all the way back. I think it kind of depended on the trim level. I think some Crown Vics and town cars did go into a single exhaust eventually, but I think the higher trims were a true dual. Of course, there is a crossover here. That's just to make it so that you don't just get 4 cylinders of sound out of any one pipe. Nonetheless, yeah, it is a true dual all the way back. Pretty cool. Making our way towards the back here, well, the theme continues with leaking seals. The pinion seal for the differential is also leaking, and it was also replaced by me at the same time that I did the one up there. Can you tell I didn't know what the heck I was doing when I was younger? Fortunately, it, you know, just kind of has a little bit of seepage and it doesn't leak terribly. Nonetheless, I do need to replace that one as well. A couple of years ago, I did take out the original airbags that were stock to this car. There's a very common issue with these. And towards the back, you can see here are the true dual exhaust pipes coming out. The pan of the massive trunk of this thing. These things have the biggest trunk in the world. And no, that's not the fuel tank. This is the fuel tank up on the front side of the trunk here, which actually does not look that big, but I think it's like a 21 or 22 gallon tank. All right, well, that was a quick 30-second rundown of the bottom side of this car. It needs stuff, but also it's not going super far anyway. I mean, eventually I'm gonna do a full-blown mechanical restoration on this girl, but in the meantime, she's a driver. And she runs well, even with a couple little leaks and with a fuel line that is about to go. But it's been fine in the meantime. It hasn't given me any other indications that it's puking fuel. So hopefully it stays that way for a long time. Okay, well, we've got our drain plug back in place and torqued down. We've got a brand new Wix oil filter up in place. She's all kind of cleaned up, sprayed some brake clean, got everything oil-free down here. It's time to go to the top side and fill her up. All right, it is now time to go back in with some Freshie McFresh fresh motor oil, and of course, we are using none other than Redline. We're going with Redline 10W30 weight oil today. This car technically calls for 5W20 after a service bulletin. It originally called for 30 weight oil. I'm not really sure the reason why the drop in weight. Nonetheless, it is an older engine, and I would like to opt to run the heavier weight oil, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. Not to mention the fact that this particular oil has literally all the good stuff. Way higher amounts of friction reducer additives than traditional motor oils do. If you've never heard of Redline before, do me a favor, go to their website and check them out. They have so many products, from engine oil to ATF to gear oil to brake fluid to 2-stroke motor oil to engine oil for your motorcycle, your side-by-side, whatever you need, they've got it. So go check out their website and you won't be sorry you did. All right, let's start getting busy. We need 5 quarts of fresh motor oil up in this bad girl. 1 down. It's funny because this stuff pours so much more nicely than the 5W50 that I put in the 911 and the 944 for that matter. It takes quite a while to pour a quart of cold 5W50. This stuff pours in like water in comparison. It's pretty funny. This stuff just like smells so freaking good. I can't stop sniffing it. All right, let's get this area cleaned up real quick. We're gonna go ahead and let the oil settle. We're gonna do a start, and then we can check our level after a little while. But while we're running the engine to get everything up through it and circulated, we're gonna go ahead and check the ATF level. It should still be plenty hot since our drive, and we can just go ahead and make sure that that level is good to go for the season as well. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get this bad girl fired up. Okay, the transmission dipstick on these bad girls is right in the back here. Just clean it off. ATF still smells pretty newish. It's actually like 10 years old, but this car really hasn't been driven like a whole ton in the last 10, 15 years. It's maybe had 10,000 miles put on it in the last 10, 15 years. So the ATF, which was done about that long ago, has remained pretty fresh. And yeah, so we're about right in the middle of the crosshatch section there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hopefully you can, but we're looking pretty good level-wise for ATF. Nice. We can run it. All right, so let's get this thing shut down. That way we can let the oil start to settle, and we can check it in maybe 5 or 10 minutes. What's annoying about these engines, the oil takes forever to settle back down into the sump. So getting an accurate oil level reading on this dipstick is quite annoying to do. Especially if you work at a shop and you're trying to get it out the door quickly, it takes a while. But anyway, so we will let this settle for a little bit, get at hopefully as accurate of a reading as possible, and hopefully we can ship her. Ship her? Barely know her. All right, well, good news. I just checked the oil level. It is cherry, literally at the very top of the high-low range on the dipstick, so we are solid and good to go there. Next thing on the list is to remedy a problem with the air conditioning. Now, this car is old, and it does have an air conditioning refrigerant leak, which is very common in older cars. And you can fix that doing one of two things. One, completely tear apart the AC system and fix your leak. It's quite honestly pretty hard to find leaks. You can use UV dye, run it through your system and see if you get lucky and find the leak. In my case, I've never been able to find the leak. So because it's been leaking for years and years, and it's a very slow leak and it hasn't gotten really any worse, I have just taken the approach of every year, I just buy a couple cans of R134A refrigerant and top the system up. It's never getting down to where it has zero pressure in the system, so I never actually have to pull the system down to a vacuum to evacuate the entire system. I just need to top it up, and that works fine for the entire spring, summer, fall, and then it usually kind of loses pressure when the car sits over the winter. So to do that, it's very simple. You just have to get yourself one of these little units. They do have updated ones out now. You actually have to get the one that is EPA safe. Basically, there's new EPA safe cans because previously what these would do is pretty much just puncture the R134A can, and there was no way to reseal it once you did. Now they have little valves in the top to where this thing actually has to be able to open that valve. It doesn't puncture it like they used to. Doing this is very, very simple. You screw in your can of refrigerant into this little thing, and then we're gonna clip that onto the low pressure side of the AC system, start the car, turn the AC on, and start letting it go into the system until this reads filled on the pressure side. I'll show you guys a little closer. When the compressor runs, it drops this down. It drops this pressure down. So you want to make sure that this pressure reading always stays in the green zone. Once it does, then you know it's good to go. So let's go ahead and do that, and shouldn't take too long. I don't think it'll take too much refrigerant either. And then this car will be ready to rip for the summer. All right, so I just started the engine and the AC is now on, and you can hear compressor is kicking on and off. There's the compressor, there it goes, and then it stopped. So because it's staying on for such a relatively short period of time, we know that actually the pressure in the system is low. It's not able to maintain a high enough pressure for it to stay on for any like appreciable amount of time, and therefore make the refrigeration cycle happen. But that's also an indication that because the compressor is kicking on, that means there is refrigerant in the system, like I said, so therefore we don't need to fully evacuate the system and then refill it. We can just add refrigerant on top of what's already there because a little bit has leaked out over the last year. So with that, let me go ahead and show you how that's done. All right, so like I said, we're going in from the low pressure side here. Gonna clip on our doodad bro thing. Okay, it's not as low as I thought it was. Let me see if it's even cold on the inside of the car. 1 second, please. Yeah, it's like luke cold. So it's doing some refrigeration, but not much. So I'm gonna go ahead and empty the rest of this can on. And right away, you can hear that the compressor stayed on way longer that time. And this is definitely emptying out this can because this can is getting like ice cold, which is what happens whenever you release a compressed substance. Oh yeah. Yeah, look how frosty this can is getting. That's how cold this thing gets. All right, we're getting there, we're getting there. I think I've about emptied this can, unfortunately. When I started, this thing was only, I don't know, probably like a third of the way full. So by the way, this is one of the SuperTech R134A cans, AKA Walmart brand. I don't normally love to shop at Walmart, but they have cheap automotive stuff, and you really can't argue with it. Oh yeah, now she's staying on like really long. Thing's basically staying on indefinitely now. Oh, just about. Boom, shaka laka. AC is recharged and good to go. All right, now that we've got the AC fixed, oil topped up, let's go ahead and go on a quick cruise in this bad girl. I thoroughly wish that there was like ride-a-vision, because I want all of you guys to feel what this car feels like to ride in. It is so sublime and smooth, it just cruises. And this road that I'm on right now, 55 mile an hour, 2-lane country road, it is just this car's forte. It is so at home in this situation. Absolutely lovely. Now, obviously this thing is extremely comfortable while ripping down an interstate highway as well. Either way, its comfort zone is just pointing and just shooting. And it just does it so well. I mean, like, you almost have to like ride in this car like this, like just lounging and just like pondering life, you know? But in all seriousness, it feels so nice to just have this thing back out on the road. I used to consistently use it as a daily driver even, as long as the weather was nice. You know, jumping on the interstate, cruising to work, and that is literally what this thing's purpose is. It's either to drive to work or to be driven to work in a lot of cases, because this thing is a limousine. Speaking of, what, you thought it didn't have a cell phone? Of course it's got a cell phone. How swaggy is that? And yeah, I can hit the power button and it works. Oh, hear that? Obviously I can't make a call on it because the phone service that this thing used hasn't been a phone service in probably 20 years, but it will power on, which is kind of cool. This thing is such a scooter. It is a great country road cruiser, and it's a very luxurious car. They do not make them this way anymore, and it's a shame. Some things, it's okay that the past has just gobbled them up. But in the case of just big luxury land yachts, that is not okay with me. And I wish so badly that we had cars with big double pillow top, cushy seats with the ride quality that is just like a freaking sofa. And it's got the cornering abilities of a tractor. But does that matter? Absolutely not. Why? Because that is not the point. Oh crap, rant coming. Unfortunately, luxury has turned into meaning how fast can you make your luxury sports sedan go 0 to 60 and lap the Nürburgring. When did that ever become a thing? Freaking magazine editors? When 0 to 60 started mattering more than the actual drive quality, that's just one of the many things in the automotive industry that has taken a turn for the worse. But anyway, that's not a political statement at all. I'm more so saying the shift towards performance figures of luxury vehicles, which of course I'm all about performance figures, but for the right car, not sedans and SUVs. Why would you want to compromise a perfectly comfortable riding SUV or sedan for performance figures? Just to show off to your buddies, I guess. But also the fact that like all anyone cares about anymore with their car is that it has Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And that is like priority number 7003 in my mind. Driving experience to me is number one, but I realize I'm vastly in the minority because everyone else has those priorities flipped. They don't care if their car just drives like an appliance, but they do want Apple CarPlay, and that's fine. That's fine. So anyway, wow, that was a heck of a rant, but here we are. So thank you all so much for being here today. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Yes, I'm looking right at you. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It really, really helps out my channel a lot, and I thank you very, very much. So thanks again for being here today, and I'll see you all hopefully in the next video. See ya. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see even more great Fun Ahead TV content, please click the link right here. I'll see you over there.